My name is Grayson Luskusong, and today I will briefly chronicle my history with Meredith Hood. I've known Meredith since we were babies when we met at a music-making class, and in her mother's own words, I was punk rock and Meredith was a blob. Our friendship continued through lower school when we swam on the road swim team. We went through a bit of a silent patch in middle school, but thankfully she still remembered me when she came to St. Mary's freshman year, and since then we have been nearly crushed by a wall of cans, played lacrosse, campaigned, and marched together. I am beyond lucky to have such a loud, impassioned, and wonderfully kind force by my side through it all. So here she is, the one, the only, Meredith Hood.
So, in case you didn't know, I'm a pretty big fan of Harry Potter. And anybody who's at all familiar with Harry Potter knows that the house system plays a pretty big role in the series. I'm a Gryffindor, the house of the brave, bold, and courageous. I've taken the official sorting hat test several times, and it has only confirmed my affiliation. A few weeks ago, somebody asked me what house I was in, and when I told her that I was in Gryffindor, somebody else added, "Duh." I've always been pretty proud of this affiliation, but in some ways, I've also become constantly afraid that I'm not living up to my own standard of being brave. I'm deathly afraid of failure to the point where I dull that Gryffindor sense of boldness. A major part of the Gryffindor in me is that I'm not afraid to say a lot of things, and sometimes that has gotten me in trouble. I'll be quite honest in admitting that I don't have a great history of having a filter. And when I came to St. Mary's freshman year, my filter was much less defined than it is now. My fearlessness of saying what was on my mind didn't seem quite as accepted in the 9th grade. So as I realized that I was quickly developing a not-so-pretty image of myself, I quickly tried to conform to the mold of the polite, quiet young girl that most of my peers seemed to value. In my eyes, the only alternative to being sweet was to be aloof and cool and mysterious, and I could never be that girl either. I was new and trying to fit in, so I wanted to be likable. And I also became very unhappy trying to mold myself into someone I am simply incapable of becoming. I don't think that this is St. Mary's fault. St. Mary's works hard to prepare us for the world we're going into and wants us to figure out our individual voice and value. But the world still wants to see quiet, passive young women, so part of preparing us for the world is preparing us to face those expectations. Of course, it is good to be polite, and I'm certain that parts of this learning curve were good for me. But being polite is dangerous when it contradicts your own inner voice and you lose the ability to stand up for yourself. From my experience, I feel like the world doesn't want to hear about my ambition, or at the very least, they are confused by it. I often hear accusations against female politicians of being ambitious with such venom in their accusations that it is as if there is something wrong with her desire to lead. And I don't think I've heard someone speak about a male politician's ambition that way. After years of trying to be less ambitious, less loud, and less bold, I've realized that that will never be me. As everyone who's ever met me knows, I just can't shut up. So even though I've given up trying to make myself quieter, I've grown to really hate this part of myself. But fortunately, as our class has gotten older, we've learned to celebrate the different sort of brilliance that exists in other girls. Of course, we and our community can always improve, but I think the world could learn a thing or two about girl power from the class of 2017. But in a little over 2 months, we have to leave each other, and we will encounter people who will not listen to our brave voices and hopeful ambitions with the same shared excitement. This makes me afraid to share my own ambitions, partly because I know that the odds of success aren't great, and I know how some people will respond. So when people ask me what I want to be when I grow up, I give them some sort of mumbly, "I don't know," because that is more acceptable than dreaming of a job that doesn't fit the expectations of the asker. But I want to let go of these fears. I want to be honest about my feelings. I want to be honest about who I am. What I'm really saying is, I want to be my unabashed Gryffindor self. I don't want to hate a major part of my personality anymore. I am letting go of being likable. I am embracing the fact that I have ambitions, that I have dreams. When people ask me what my dream job is, I'll be honest and tell them I'd really seriously like to be President of the United States. We all have different dreams because we're all different people. And we all need to work harder not to cast judgment on the dreams of others. And instead of stereotyping someone because of how they want to contribute to society, give them the simple assurance of your belief in them to succeed. I know what my dreams are right now. They might not always be my dreams, but don't ever expect me to be quiet or to stop fighting for what I believe in. After all, in the words of Eleanor Roosevelt, well-behaved women rarely make history. Thank you.